What's up, Taiwan? I'm Reece with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. We begin with the latest in the Legislature. In a vote this morning, lawmakers failed to confirm any of 7 justices nominated for Taiwan's top court by President Lai Ching-te. The court will remain with only 8 of 15 seats filled, potentially paralysing the court following controversial changes to the law passed last week. Our reporter Tiffany Wong is following this story for us live at the Legislature. Tiffany, can you tell us about the results here today?
Hi, Reece. Well, it's been quite the turn of events here today. This morning, we were expecting one of the nominees to be approved by the legislature, but it turns out that none of them have gone through. Now, this morning, the smaller opposition, Taiwan People's Party, said that they would throw their support behind one of the nominees, leaving that nominee unclear. We were expecting the ruling Democratic Progressive Party to support all of the justices, all of the nominees, in line with President Lai Ching-te, who had nominated them. And we were also expecting the opposition, Kuomintang, to reject all of them. But it turns out that the one nominee that the Taiwan People's Party supported is the one nominee that the Democratic Progressive Party has actually rejected, meaning that none of them have passed that 57 vote threshold needed to be confirmed. Now, it's unclear why the DPP has rejected Liu Jingyi, who is the head of a Graduate Institute of National Development at the country's top university. But the KMT caucus whip called this a vote of no confidence in President Lai, seeing as all 7 of his nominees had been rejected by different parties. Now, these nominees had faced intense questioning in their confirmation hearings, especially by KMT and TPP lawmakers on the topic of the death penalty. The Constitutional Court had recently ruled limiting the scope of its use, but public opinion polls show that 80% of people in Taiwan still support the use of capital punishment. And the KMT themselves cited this as one of the reasons why they did vote against all of these nominees. And it seems like in those confirmation hearings, the nominees were unable to convince a majority of the lawmakers that they were fit to serve on this court.
So there are only still 8 justices sitting on the court out of a maximum 15. How could this affect the justice system going forward?
Well, for now, there will not be any changes. Under current rules, the Constitutional Court can still function without a minimum number of justices. It will just be a very small court, as it is. But recent amendments that have been passed could change that. Now, these amendments have not yet been signed into law by President Lai Ching-te, but if they go into effect, this would require 10 justices sitting to hear court cases and 9 of them to make a ruling on constitutionality. And any of those open seats would have to be filled within 2 months. Now, as we know, the confirmation process takes a very long time, and with all 7 of President Lai's nominees rejected this time, this could potentially paralyze the court if these amendments go into effect before at least 2 seats are filled. Now, we're unsure whether President Lai will nominate a whole new slate of nominees to the court, or if he'll try to push forward some of these that were rejected today once again. But either way, it looks like it's going to be a very long battle ahead to get that court back to full capacity.
Thanks, Tiffany. That was our reporter Tiffany Wong live from the Legislature. A top economic think tank has forecast Taiwan's economy will grow 3.1% next year. That prediction, made by Academia Sinica's Institute of Economics, is lower than this year's projected growth of 4.23%. The institute cited uncertainty over how US President-elect Donald Trump's policies will affect the global economy. Trump has said he will impose new tariffs on goods from Mexico, Canada, and China. Despite that, Taiwan's exports are expected to grow next year due to demand for emerging technologies such as AI. President Lai Ching-te says Taiwan has no choice but to face the risk of natural disasters head-on. He made the comments at an evacuation drill he oversaw in New Taipei. As Rick Glauert reports, it's part of Taiwan's efforts to boost its response to crises.
This centre of Taiwan's largest Buddhist charity, here in one of New Taipei's most populated districts, is holding an evacuation exercise. They're practicing how a civil society organisation like this would work together with local government, emergency services and the military to get residents to safety during a disaster like a typhoon or an earthquake, or in the event of conflict. This disaster response cooperation exercise is being overseen by the country's president, Lai Ching-te.
我们防灾演练是秉持防患于未然，就是灾害还没有发生的时候，我们就要预做准备，来达到多一分准备，少一分灾害这样的目标。
Taiwan prides itself on its disaster response, and it's drills like this that means that Taiwan's population knows how to spring into action and prevent loss of life when disaster strikes. Taiwan this year has already been hit by a 7.2 magnitude earthquake and 3 powerful typhoons. The message from the country's leader today is that as we move into the next year, Taiwan must remain vigilant. Alex Chen and Rick Laut in New Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Starting Tuesday, Taiwanese citizens must remain enrolled in the country's health insurance system and pay premiums, even if they live abroad. The policy change will affect around 210,000 people and is expected to boost national health insurance revenue by over $70 million annually. The aim is to ensure fair contributions to the system by reducing the chance that people living overseas avoid paying premiums but can still access healthcare when they return. The United States has opened an investigation into the market practices of China's semiconductor industry. The US says it's concerned China is using anti-competitive means to undermine critical US supply chains and economic security. In response, Beijing has urged Washington to stop the investigation, describing the probe as protectionist. The United States Trade Representative Office said that China has almost doubled its global share of foundational logic semiconductor production in just 6 years. A Chinese bulk freighter suspected of severing 2 European undersea communication cables will continue its journey, the country's foreign ministry says. That's despite concerns from Sweden of an incomplete investigation.
伊鹏3号为配合调查已经停航较长时间。为了保障船员的身心健康，船东公司经过综合评估并商有关方面后，决定复航。
The Yipeng 3 was tracked sailing over the fibre optic cables in Swedish territorial waters at the time they were cut in mid-November. The ship had left a Russian port 2 days before the incident. European officials suspected an act of sabotage, but authorities from Sweden, Germany and Finland were only invited aboard to act as observers of a Chinese-led investigation. Sweden's request that their prosecutors be allowed to investigate was refused, and the Chinese vessel is now resuming its trip to Egypt. The Dalai Lama has reassured followers that he's in good health and intends to live for a long time.
According to my dream, I may live 110 years. Okay.
Supported by monks, the 89-year-old spiritual leader is back to meeting supporters after recovering from a knee surgery earlier this year. Questions over his health and succession have been growing. The Dalai Lama and the Tibetan government in exile have repeatedly said once the leader turns 90 next July, they will have more clarity on if and where he will be reincarnated. It's Christmas Eve in Taiwan, and amid the festive cheer and decorated trees, one plant is stealing the spotlight. Our reporter Sandy Chi has the story.
A symbol of goodwill and community spirit, the Poinsettia. Its name in Chinese literally means Christmas red. Its vibrant color can be seen in different corners of Taiwan as the country marks the December holiday period. And many local residents head out to the flower market to buy them to give their home a festive vibe.
圣诞节快到，想把家里布置温馨一点，对，比较有喜气洋洋。
Poinsettias, originally native to Mexico and Central America, were introduced to Taiwan around the 1960s. It's now the second most popular potted plant in the country, after moth orchids. The cultivation of poinsettias is concentrated in 4 major regions: Nantou, Taoyuan, Miaoli, and Yilan, in northern and central Taiwan. Nantou leads the nation with production of 400,000 pots a year, accounting for a full third of the total.
Here at Taipei Flower Market, Christmas blooms have given the venue a festive makeover with its vibrant red. Although Taiwan cultivates around 10 varieties of poinsettias, it is the red flowers that dominate, making up to 90% of the market.
The Taipei Flower Auction Company, the first fully owned wholesale flower market in Taiwan, says it expects around 1.15 million poinsettias to be grown this year, over 20,000 more than last year. Despite the increase in sales, some florists say business isn't as good as it used to be, largely due to the impact of the weather.
不太好，你看今天就没什么人了，因为今年是暖冬，暖冬的话花就开得很慢，产地都没有红。
因为今年圣诞红买气是有比较差一点啊，毕竟是红度的部分比较不够，因为也是因为气候影响。
Fortunately, there's a solution to this problem. At a university in central Taiwan, Professor Chen Yiming and his research team have developed a domestic variety of poinsettia called the Mythology Series, which can turn red in time for Christmas.
今年因为天气相对来说，我们到10月份都还是非常热的状况。虽然日常变短了，那对于圣诞红来说，他会觉得说，我现在已经日常变短了，应该要进入啦。可是为什么温度像夏天一样？所以它其实有在转色，只是转色速度就会变得很混乱，或者是变缓慢了。对，你看原本它是这个绿色嘛，然后它会叶绿素退掉，然后慢慢的花青素会上去，那比例就会随着它的这个转色时间，慢慢的面积越来越大，所以到最后就全片叶片都是粉红色的。
Among the new poinsettia varieties, one in particular stands out. Thor has been specially bred to withstand climate change, being both colorful and resilient.
雷神它的第一个优点就是它好种，然后它的转色也是相对很快速的，它颜色相对是比较亮丽的，然后叶片也是挺立的。好，因为圣诞红你可以看到有些叶片像那个就是垂垂的，好，那我们的雷神基本上是挺立的。
Developing domestic poinsettia varieties that can thrive in Taiwan's conditions marks a significant milestone for horticulture in the country, a step toward greater self-resilience and sustainability.
因为有了自有品种，才有办法决定这个产业的走向。早期我们都是在种国外的人品种，那如果国外人家的品种不卖你，那你等于这个产业就消失了。
Now, with these new homegrown varieties, growers are aiming for a future where more made-in-Taiwan plants can bring festive cheer to the world. Joseph Wu, Billy Wu, and Sunny Chi for TaiwanPlus.
A 40-year-old woman has broken Taiwan's record for the longest period between birth of twins, delivering them 111 days apart. The woman lost her first baby prematurely around 20 weeks into her pregnancy. Usually, if one twin is born prematurely, the other twin is also delivered. But instead, doctors decided the woman should continue carrying the second baby, and over 100 days later, it was born. Twins born over more than 24 hours apart are extremely rare, with high risks of complications.
A 宝出来后，它的脐带根是要塞回我的子宫，所以也有感染的风险在，所以其实存在很多的高风险情况下，就是忐忑不安，但是就是还是日子一天一天过。
The success rate for having twins over 24 hours apart is extremely low, around 0.01%. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, check out these images of dozens of stand-up paddleboarders dressed up as Santa Claus in Thessaloniki, Greece's second largest city. I'm Reece. Take care and see you next time.